So SB Nation feels like a Green Bay Packers market where it's like a small market, intimate mom and pop type of business, but it still gets a lot of media attention. How do you think the state of the sports blog in general has differed from when you first started? And if the sports blog is changing for the better?
Yeah, I mean, SB Nation encompasses a pretty wide variety of things. That's part of the reason our video team and our product have been renamed as Secret Bases, to just sort of distinguish, like, we do this thing, other people do a different thing that's also called SB Nation. Um, when I first got into SB Nation, I was a kid. I was in high school, and I founded our Knicks blog in 2007, 2008. Um, 2007. And at the time, SB Nation was just a constellation of totally amateur run team blogs. No one was making any real money. No one really had a full-time job. Uh, that's all that sports blogging was. In the intervening period, obviously, writing about sports in a way separate from journalism, writing about sports as a fan, writing about sports purely for the internet, writing about sports without any access, is a thing now. It's something you can do for a living. And SB Nation in that time has gone from having a real big national footprint and reporting and having full-timers that works on sort of a centralized national team and aren't team bloggers. We did a bunch of that. And then in the last couple of years, in a way that's been, I think, accelerated by the pandemic, layoffs have hit the company pretty hard, and we're sort of back to, we have this video thing that I do, but then it's mostly team blogging, and a lot of it is sort of done by full-timers who cover a bunch of different bases and maybe aren't as not necessarily fans of the teams that they're writing about, aren't necessarily writing about only one team, but are still trying to provide sort of a localized perspective. So the market has certainly changed in ways that I am not smart or worldly enough to identify, but SB Nation has sort of cannibalized itself several times over and taken on different forms over the whole time I've been working there. And it went from, we're trying to be ESPN a little bit, to like kind of retreating to what things used to be. And it's a much smaller outfit than it was a few years ago, but still much bigger than it was when I got on board.
So you said you started a Knicks blog while you were in high school with SB Nation. Like, how did that even come about? That sounds like something that would be kind of crazy nowadays, to work with SB Nation and create your own Knicks blog. So how did that even come about when you were at like such a young age?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think SB Nation is, like you said, not ESPN. It's not one of the biggest names in sports media, but it's something now. And, some big names have worked for us or have worked for us. But yeah, when I was in high school, SB Nation started long before Vox Media existed, long before, it had a CEO and like a proper corporate edifice. SB Nation was just a smattering of amateur run team blogs. It was kids, it was lawyers doing something in their free time. It was students at the actual colleges they were covering. And it was a bunch of baseball blogs. I think maybe by that point, all 32 teams, whatever it is, however many baseball teams there are. And then like a handful of NBA blogs. And they didn't have a Knicks blog. And I was a kid who was a Knicks fan who started my own, when I was a junior or senior in high school, started my own just like blogspot Knicks blog, with no background, no credential, no nothing. I was just a kid having fun in my free time. But I commented at some of the SB Nation blogs. And, this is before Twitter. I just, by commenting places and occasionally emailing writers I liked at SB Nation, someone figured out that I existed and had a Knicks blog. And so when they were like, hey, we don't have a Knicks blog yet, they thought, hey, maybe this 17-year-old can start our Knicks blog. And posting and toasting is still, SB Nation's Knicks blog. And I founded that when I was a kid.
That's so cool, honestly, to be able to make that when you're so young. I guess my next question would just be like, how did it progress over the years, as you went through college and after, to the point where you're still working with SB Nation?
Well, a long version of that story could take quite a while, but basically, I was like I said, I founded the Knicks blog in high school, and when I went to college, I kept doing it. I, skipped enough parties and like just was boring enough in college that yeah, I was the one in my dorm room on Friday nights, watching a 10:30 game where the Knicks got the shit kicked out of them by the Suns or whatever it was. And so I kept doing it, and I built a little bit of a following. The Knicks had training camp at my college a couple years while I was there, just dumb luck. And that helped me, sneak my way into a little bit of access and some actual reporting. So that helped. And basically I didn't study journalism or anything close to it. I went to a college that didn't have a real sports program or a real journalism program.
Hey, just like us.
Yeah.
For real.
So I was just covering the Knicks for fun and doing it basically for free. But by the time I graduated college, which again was a college, an undergraduate study program I was going to go to grad school for neuroscience. I was not interested. I was not headed in a sports media direction. But by the time I graduated college, I had been offered, part-time writing gigs here and there. I was writing regularly for New York Magazine's now defunct sports vertical. I was, SB Nation had developed into more of a real thing during the time I was in college, and I was doing, copy editing for $100 here or there, doing some regional sort of just recapping of games. And so when I graduated, instead of paying to go to grad school, I was like, someone's paying me a little bit. Might as well see if this will work out. And that was a very bad decision. And I didn't make any money for a couple of years and was about ready to quit. And then SB Nation offered me a full-time job doing social media. So I and Roger Sherman, who's now at The Ringer, who's a wonderful person, ran SB Nation's social media for a couple of years. That turned into making social video. If you remember the era when every media company was convinced that just doing whatever Facebook wanted was a good idea. I was the person at SB Nation writing scripts for like totally garbage, cynical 90-second square videos with subtitles. And then the Facebook money dried up, and they were like, well, do you want to keep doing video? And I said, sure. And so now I work on the video team.
And now we're here.
And that's my story. But now I'm having fun and working on stuff that's actually rewarding.